Hi, I'm going to try and do you a walking video. This is my first effort at doing it, so I apologize if it's not great. I'm walking down the street now to go to a doctor's appointment, and this is just typical of the area where I'm living, and I'll show you some of the beautiful plants and houses along the way. So I'm going to turn the camera around so you can see what's on the street, but I've got to look where I'm walking too. So this is one of the beautiful bushes. It's very similar to a hydrangea, but it's white. I think they're puffballs or snowballs or something. They're really beautiful. And then these are the street houses. We all live in like street houses that are a couple of stories high. They have been individual homes, but they have been turned into apartments, and usually one or two families live in them. If I can find one that's got the basement apartment, I call it caves. The cave dwellers. It must have been so awful in COVID to have been locked down. They've all got these beautiful little wrought iron staircases, and you can probably see some of the windows there of one of the caves, so I call them. The doors are very inaccessible to these cave things. You've got to go down steep staircases, but they're pretty little gardens, and I think they were built for one purpose and have had to be done for other purposes. So it's not really what I would call ideal for us who've been living in South Africa to be squashed into these tiny little spaces. But the cost of accommodation here in Washington DC is so astronomical. I couldn't even afford to live in one of the caves. So that will give you an indication. I have to live with my son and his partner, which is great. I mean, we get on well, fortunately, and they're very good to me. And I just want to show you one of the towers there. I just love the towers on the end of a building. They really are so pretty. It also reminds me of Rapunzel. Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your long hair. There's another one. They all seem to be at the end of a building, and that's why I really enjoy them. There you can see there's another window for a cave, and they're very dark. Must be absolutely awful living in these places. But I mean, beggars can't be choosers. There's such a lack of accommodation in these cities that it does make it very difficult. There's a view down, crossing the road now. Here's a view down that street, and here's another of my favorite houses. I love the color of the paintwork, and you can just see the row houses, house after house adjoining. I do run across the street there. There's a porch on the front, people's flags. They really like to put out the flags here. And so, here we go. There is an entrance to one of the caves underneath the main staircase. See, in the house next door has also got one with a cave entrance, and it must be so hard. Here's another one. You can just see at night. Can you imagine going down there trying to find your way to the front door? Oh, yeah. Anyway, we are blessed to have a roof over our head and clothes on our back, so I'm not going to complain, and I'm sure those people are happy to have a roof over their heads as well. People do plant on the street here. I've noticed they even plant vegetables and pumpkins and stuff on the street, and occasionally things go AWOL, but not very often, not like South Africa. It's usually quite, people put stuff on the pavement as well, just for you to pick up. I mean, if you want to set up house, you could do it very cheaply because you've got, oh, here's a big truck, just hang on. Right, crossing the street now. Where did I get up to? There's another pretty little garden. I lost my train of thought there. But most of the gardens are pretty well kept. You get the odd ones that aren't. But, you know, as you get older, I mean, just take a look at the staircases across the road there. You know, to get up and down those every day with your knees. It's quite a mission. And but this is how it is in the city. You have to just keep going, and there's no space for parking, so I've given up driving. I can't afford a car here anyway. And it's another cave, and you know, walking's good for me, so I'm thankful for that. Thankful I can be with my family and near my family. Here's a fig tree. I'm busy doing a study on reforesting the soul. And you know what? There's only 3 trees mentioned in Genesis. There's a tree of good, of evil, and the tree, the good of tree and evil, and the tree of knowledge, and the fig tree. And it's such an interesting study. I haven't got to the end of it yet. Maybe I'll share some of my thoughts on it when I get to the end. It gives you a thought that you've never thought of in your entire life before. Now this person here has got a wonderful little street garden right on the street. They've expanded from the front yard. Here you see the front yard, all the plants. And here's just a typical day in DC. Sirens all the time, drives me crack a bang. If it's not fire engines, it's police cars or whatever. It's a very noisy place to live. Here's some more pretty flowers along the way. And we're coming up to a retirement home here, which is probably one of the nicest ones I've seen. It's got nice shady trees. It's probably quite old. And it would be nice if I could have got an apartment here, but as I said, things are so jolly expensive here. I doubt even if they had a cave, I'd still be able to afford it. Anyway, we got a school across the road there. And yeah, I think that's probably as far as I'm going to walk and talk, because I've got to concentrate a bit now getting across the streets and everything. But I hope you enjoyed that little walk with me and got a taste of the city life here. I'm just one street down from the high street, which has got crazy buses. It's got a streetcar. I could take either of those to get to my appointment, but it's not a really, of course, safe street, and it's certainly not shady, and it's got all sorts of cannabis shops on it. Just about every block there's one. So I think I'd rather just walk along the street behind in the shade of the trees and hope for the best. Okay then, bye.